Okay guys, it's me again. I just want to keep that other one short just to let everybody know that we were okay and headed north from Louisiana. So we met a nice young lady. She's, I don't know, what did she say, 60 years old? 65?
I don't know, she looked amazing.
She looked amazing. I'm telling you what, I don't know what they eat down south, but beignets. That's why we brought them all with us. Looked amazing, was a very nice, very nice lady. And she was really hard affected, as were obviously lots of people, by Hurricane Katrina. And one of the things that Dana and I had talked about before was that when we heard about Katrina, obviously we live up in northeast Washington, and you see it on the news and you hear about it, and you don't really think about the real impact of it. And this lady was one of the people that had to be evacuated because it was mandatory. When the levees broke or let go, or water started coming in, it was mandatory. People in these areas had to move out. And so this lady had about an hour to grab what she could. And what she could grab was some pictures off the wall. She had literally the clothes she was wearing and the pictures off her wall. Now, backstory to this lady, she'd been in the hotel industry for 30 years and was born in New Orleans and raised there and lived there her whole life. And in the span of this time with the hurricane and everything, she had to move. She had got an hour, and it took her that long to get to her house. So one of the first things that they said is, you got to get out. And so she grabbed what she could, and I think she may have had some clothes, but basically that was it. Some pictures off the wall.
They took 3 days of clothes because they were thinking 3 days of clothes.
Yeah, so she packed 3 days worth of clothes. Dana should be telling this one, but she's making me do it because she doesn't want to be on camera because she didn't do her hair. Like, I look amazing. So anyways, so she packed 3 days worth of clothes and got some pictures off the wall and went to stay with her sister up in Georgia. Now, by normal travel standards, her sister's house is about 45 minutes away from where she lives. And it took her 11 hours to get there. It took her 11 hours just to get to a 45-minute away place. Because they were told, pack up and roll.
Her daughter had money.
At one point, her daughter they had a double-level house, and there was 9 feet of water in their home. And so when we heard about people being evacuated and having to go like her to family members and whatnot, you think in your head, oh, well, she had to be gone for a couple months. 2 years. This lady was removed from her home for 2 years. 2 years. And she had literally put her whole life into where she worked at the hotel, and she couldn't get a job up there, and ended up working in a gas station. She ended up having to move to Texas
because they offered in Texas. Her daughter went to Texas, and in Texas they offered an 18-month housing voucher. So her daughter said, "Mom, come to Texas because they're offering a housing voucher." So she went to Texas, and she said, "I've been in the hotel business for 30 years," and she said, as soon as they found out that I had a 504 area code, she said I couldn't get a job at any of those places. So she ended up having to work at a gas station. They were only allowed, they would contact you to come back into New Orleans by zip code.
So wherever you lived at in New Orleans, when they started letting people back in, was by the area that you were evacuated from. So there was other people that were being moved back in before her, and she hadn't been able to do anything with her house, like I said, and be there for 2 years. And so then when she finally got to come home, she was talking to Dana. This was this morning. She was talking to her this morning, and she said it was when she first came back into New Orleans. She said it looked like an old black and white movie because it was just everything was gray. And so Dana and I spent a lot of time driving around looking at some of the stuff, and you can still You can still see it years after that the Hurricane Katrina came through. You can still see it, and you can. But you know what the good part is one of the good parts is you can see where these people are putting work back in. There's a lot of these houses where you can see one side of the street is getting worked on, and then the other side of the street is just at you know, a finished part where they've got siding on the houses, and nobody's house is on a flat foundation like we do in Washington. They're all on runners, like slab runners, and then
new houses,
pillars underneath them of bricks to keep the house up off the ground, and then they put skirting around the bottom. So, but yeah, that was something to be able to talk to somebody that actually got moved out of it. And you know, it's kind of like somebody from somewhere else talking to us up in Washington about the fires that we had last year, and some of the ones that Dane and I were out next to, and when we were delivering food and whatnot. And you know, until you talk to somebody that was actually there, and then you get slapped in the face with yeah, I wasn't gone for 2 months from my home or a month from my job. I was gone from everything I'd grown up around for 2 years, living in a place I didn't want to live, living in a state I didn't want to live in, and unable to perform the job that I'd been doing for 30 plus years. Fortunately for her, her job that she was with, because she was removed, the hotel chain that she works for paid her salary for a certain, was it? I don't remember. They paid her salary for the first little bit while she was getting settled in, and then she got a voucher for 18 months worth of rent, which kind of set her off thinking at first, you know, when she thought she was going to be gone for a couple months, and then they pay her a voucher to pay her rent in another state for 18 months. So they did that, and I'm not sure for how many people from Louisiana or from New Orleans that did that, but I bet you for as many that were helped out and got a handout or a help out, I guarantee you there was just as many that didn't, and that sucks. So we were happy to be there and hang out with some of the locals, and then hang out with some of the tourist folks. And I'll say that some of the most polite people I've ever met are the salt of the earth, hardworking, blue-collar folks just like myself and Dana, living down there, working their butts off every day. So my hat's off to them. And
we talked about the minimum wage.
Yeah, we'll we'll talk about some stuff in some other videos, since we've got time traveling north into Memphis, Tennessee, and apparently if I were driving, we'd be going all the way to Sheridan, Wyoming, but because I'm not driving, we're going to Kansas City, Missouri.
Which is only 9 hours from now.
Yeah, which is, you know, it still makes for a 13-hour drive day, but that's a 13-hour drive day the smart way. My way would have been 26, so who knew? So we'll talk more about some of the wages that they pay down here in New Orleans. It's a slap in the face to what they pay up in Washington, especially their minimum wage up in Washington. You don't know what minimum wage is until you talk to a man that's been working at the same place for 20 years, and he feels like he's sitting on top of the world because he makes $8.53 an hour after 20 years. So shut up when you start griping about your $15, $16 an hour minimum wage. Shut up. All right. Until next time, Pollock, Swede, out.